Well, welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel, where I'm feeling wildly indifferent about this moment. I don't really know how to explain it. Clay and I have been talking. This is the 52nd episode of the Jesus Cartel. 5-2, baby. We have completed a year. We have been a model of consistency over the year, which is, what we strive to be in everything that we do.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it being the 52nd episode feels like you're closing the chapter on something. I don't know what it is, but I feel sad almost, even though I know we're going to continue shooting the Jesus Cartel. I still have this weird pit in my stomach. It's like when you get really invested in a series or something that's got several seasons, right, and there's no more seasons coming. This is just about to be it. It feels kind of like that. And I don't know why.
So you're not realizing that we've been signed for season 2?
I guess that's probably
we have been signed for season 2 of the Jesus Cartel.
Yeah, and we talked about it last episode. I know I had mentioned that we're probably going to do something special for this episode, and we are, in a way, going to do something a little unique. But the real special thing Clay and I have been discussing will actually be coming in the next episode. Yeah. And I'm personally thinking that the surprise that's coming will kind of be a staple for season 2.
Okay.
I think season 1 was a lot about the way that we handled it. I think season 2 is going to be more geared towards what they experienced with episode 1 of season 2. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're going to try our best to, I say try because it's really not dependent on you and I. So this is a situation we're going to have to motivate some involvement from the outside. But we're going to give our best effort to make some consistency in a new way. And man, I'm pretty pumped up about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to add a new dynamic to some things, and it's going to please the request of a lot of people.
Amen.
And so, man, what a year has it been. Get to know you segment question is normally kind of how we kind of toss some things around usually at the beginning of the episode, but just being as how we're recapping a year now, our get to know you segment question that I'd like to know, and I know that's something you'd like to know is, we did a year of the Jesus Cartel. What do you think about it, man?
Yeah.
Tell me after 52 episodes, this being the 52nd episode, how do you feel about it now compared to where you started? Did it do what you thought it was going to do? Is it the same? Is it different? Has it changed?
Yeah, so Andrew kind of started pitching this back at the first 2023, and a lot of y'all know that story. We tossed it around. We talked about it. It's definitely something we want to do, but we had a hard time coming up with a name for the podcast, so it kind of put everything off. And if you know anything about Andrew and I's lives, it's very busy, but it's really inconsistently busy in the sense that it's always busy, but you never know what you're going to be busy doing. So even though we may see each other 5 days a week or 7 days a week or whatever, we're always doing different things. And so the idea of getting a name and getting it started and stuff is something we talked about often, but it wasn't something that we just could stay on all the time. And finally we just put our foot down and said, hey, we got to do it. And so just getting it started was the big deal for us. Now, something that, has kind of, I don't want to say caught me off guard, but something that is pretty cool for me is how easy this has been for us as far as talking about these topics and stuff. What's cool about this is we're not just real big chit-chatters. We like our words to, have meetings and stuff, but we get in here on Jesus Cartel not really knowing exactly what's going on, and we never have a problem with that episode.
Yep.
So that has been really cool just to because we don't always vocalize how we feel about everything. So when you're talking about something or you bring up a topic and then I start talking about it, those are lots of times words that have never come out of my mouth before.
Yep.
Which is really cool because, my family listens to this a lot. And now they kind of know where I stand on things more than before.
Sure.
And it wasn't that they couldn't guess it or get a good idea, but just hearing it come out of their daddy's mouth or the leader of the family's mouth and everything just brings more consistency and more credibility to what they already know, on the inside of them. Because there are many things that I say on here, and I know the same way with you, that we've never said before.
Yeah.
But we've always known on the inside, but then here it gives us a platform to let those things come out and let the Holy Spirit flow in that area.
Yeah, it's man, it's been a wild run. Just from the beginning, like you said, it was an idea that we both thought would have some effect or have some positive effect. And really, in my mind, and not that we have like a nationwide audience or anything, though we do have some people pretty far off that listen regularly. I was really thinking we're probably going to impact or reach, 10 to 20 people. Mm-hmm. I figured that'd be about, which to me was still worth it. Mm-hmm. 10 to 20 people invested in a conversation about the Lord every week is a big deal. But man, it has reached significantly larger than that. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. It's also impacted the center, which was never a plan. From the beginning. Right. We didn't start the Jesus Cartel for that to be viewed at Fresh Start. Mm-hmm. Didn't even have that idea, as a matter of fact. Did someone else suggest it, or did it just
months in?
Yeah.
They just heard other people talking about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we that was something that has had an impact that we didn't expect and didn't realize. And I know not everybody, loves that time, but there are a lot of people that do. And it has changed, I think, the way a lot of the clients get to interact with us, because they see us maybe a little more personable than as staff, client, and we get to joke about some things. They get to see some similarities. They get to pick on us about some right. of the silly things that we've done in life, and it's really impacted the way that we communicate. And in some of the episodes, you can tell really speak to some of these guys, and every episode speaks to someone, and I think that's what's really cool. There's never been a week, not one, since we started showing it there, that I didn't go to work that next Monday, because they watch it on Sundays, and somebody in the center came up and said, "Hey, look, that was the best episode," because it's just kind of just depends on where people are when they hear it, and that's another thing that's been unique. But the show itself has changed a lot in a year, and so we try to always get better at everything we do. We're also limited by some technology and stuff that we have. We could pour a lot more money into the show if we wanted to, but we're kind of doing it in the most minimalist way possible. And that's a preference, Right. You start to overcomplicate things that sometimes you reach a point of diminishing returns. But we've gotten better at the technology that we have. Our banter, I think, has gotten better. Just the way that the episode kind of flows. We always got through the episodes well, but I think that we've kind of tried to find that balance of enjoying ourselves and also giving valuable information. The show is super raw. Mm-hmm. We don't cut anything. We've never cut anything. Mm-mm. There's never been a time I edited anything out of the show. Errors and all. As a matter of fact, I think last week's episode, the filming of it was proper, but when it uploaded, I think your video was like really lagged. It's like, that's life sometimes. Mm-hmm. You can do everything right.
Yeah, we didn't take it down.
Yeah,
right.
No, we didn't take it down. You can do everything right and still the result not be what you hoped. Mm-hmm. And that's life. That's life. And so the show's also super current, because we're talking to our viewers about what we want to, what they want to discuss. Well, there's so much going on that they usually want to talk about whatever's happening. Mm-hmm. And that's a big deal. And so we've got to address some really difficult situations as they were happening. And the screen view even changed.
Right.
When we started the show, when one of us was speaking, it would literally pop back and forth every time we spoke, and somebody made a suggestion in the middle of it, and they were like, "Hey, I'd really like to see." It was when we started really picking at each other more, mm-hmm. and they were like, "I really want to see the other one's reaction when y'all are doing this." And so I was like, well, let's try a split shot. Mm-hmm. And we gave it a shot, and most people, the majority of people, enjoyed the split view more for that reason, because you could see whether or not you're getting to somebody or they're right. enjoying what's being said. And so, yeah, man, the show has changed drastically. And, last week's episode was about what turned your whole life around, So we get into some deep depths, and we also talk about some smaller, more niche things. And so, man, it has far exceeded any expectation that I had so far. And here's the deal, and I'm not just saying this. I genuinely believe that next year's Jesus Cartel is going to be better than this year's.
Yeah.
I think that our plans for moving forward are going to really drive this into a whole new realm, because I think they're going to get to see things through a much more broad lens, where right now it's kind of it can be assumed, even though I don't believe it's correct, it can be assumed that we're looking through a very narrow lens. This next season, the plans for next season are going to broaden that a bit, and really give a better picture, I think, of what we're teaching and what we believe, and what's happening in the world and with Christ and with people. And so I'm stoked about it.
Well, when we first started, when we did our very first episode, we were like, man, that went well, because we didn't know exactly how it was going to go in the next one and stuff. But I do think that we've gotten better and better. And, that's something that we always want to do. Like you said, we want to continue to improve and get better. There's guys at the center that tell me sometimes, man, y'all are getting better and better at this, and I agree, part of me wants to say, well, let's get y'all on camera and see how y'all do, and but then the other side is like, hey, that is a goal of ours in everything that we do. The number one thing that I am happiest about, there's a lot of things we could talk about, a lot of surprises. Did it exceed our expectations? Sure it did. I mean, you got people that go to church, and people that go to church once or twice a week, and that's pretty consistent there. But asking them to spend another hour of their week, because every one of our shows is an hour, and asking them to spend another hour of their week listening to us talk and stuff. Hey, that's a big commitment. And that's pretty cool, and it's really exceeded our expectations. But if I had to come up with one thing that I think is really, really cool about this show, it would be something kind of selfish. It would be something kind of personal. And that is, and you may mention to it, but I want to bring it out, is the consistency of this show. So when we talked about, I think yesterday, that we'd kind of do a year-end review, I started wanting to write down something that happened significant each month of this year. Now, I didn't do that, but I wanted to start that way. So I started with May, when we started or whatever. And, in May, I went to Kenya and went to Tanzania, and we still did our show, and then later on you went to Pakistan, and we still found ways to do our show, and then we had loved ones die on the day that we were filming our show. We've had funerals on the day that we're doing our show. We've both preached right before we do our show, and then preached afterwards. And whether it was a chapel or a wedding or a funeral or whatever it is. And I just think that that's really cool that two people that are as busy as we are feel so strong about what God is doing through this show that we find ways to make it happen, even when we can't find ways to make other things happen.
Sure.
And that is something that we've preached for years to people, is you find time for what you want to find time for. When you commit to something, you do it. You go all in. You're either all in or you're all out. And I just think that a lot of the things that we stand for in life, and a lot of the advice that we've given, we've walked out through this show just by being as consistent with this show as what we have been for 52 episodes.
Yeah.
And I think that's not to be taken lightly. That's not trying to toot our own horn or anything.
Sure.
But I just think that that's a good testament to living out what we preach and being confident that God is using us in this way.
Yeah, the simple truth of the matter is there's always a reason not to do something. It is not hard to find some type of justification not to do something. I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think. We were talking about just health, fitness, and habits. Not necessarily like it being strong, just, creating healthy habits for your life. And I told him that, some days things get complicated. Things get really complicated. And I told him I don't ever take rest days, because if I take a rest day, usually what ends up happening is the next day something crazy happens and I end up not being able to do the things that I need to do to take care of myself.
Yep.
And so the voluntary rest day I took, I really am kicking myself for taking, because I was like, golly, God kind of created a rest day,
Right.
And so I jokingly was like, hey, look, man, we're going to work every day, and we'll let God plan when we rest. And that happens, man.
Right.
That have we filmed every Wednesday? No. Matter of fact,
Today's not Wednesday.
yeah, and the next episode won't be filmed on Wednesday.
Right.
And there's the consistency isn't always in the preparation. The consistency is in the delivery. Mm-hmm. But the preparation has to be there for the consistency in the delivery.
Yes.
If the preparation's not there, then you can't consistently deliver. And so that was kind of what we had ended up on, was just like, hey, look, you plan to work hard every day. There will be times where that's not possible. Rest on that day.
Yeah.
But we need to come prepared to work hard every single day. And there's never been a workout that I missed that I planned on missing. Mm-hmm. It's never been, hey, you know what, I think I'm just going to hang back today. There's never been a counseling session that I missed that I planned on missing. Mm-hmm. Something happened with the other people. They didn't show up. There's never been any type of effort that was due from me that I missed because I was just like, man, I'm just not really feeling it. I say that since I've come into my relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. Before that, there was a whole lot of that. But my favorite is when people get a new job and they have a flat tire their first week. That happens all the time. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I say all that just to say, man, consistency and being consistent. If it matters to you, you'll make a way. Amen. If it matters to you, you make a way, which is why it's so important, because when you're not consistent, you're telling the people that they don't matter that much. I like you, but you don't matter enough for me to honor my commitment. And that's just...
Well, we want to be people of integrity.
Yep.
But in order to be people of integrity, we had to be seen as people of integrity.
Yep.
And one of the major ways is with your time. And that's what people see it. A lot of people don't schedule a lot on Mondays. They just want to fill Monday out. That's not me. I'm visiting with somebody, they want to see me. Hey, they said, hey, I'd like to see you next week. I'll schedule for Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Working out. I've never had a problem working out on Mondays.
Yeah.
Because, hey, we work out on Mondays and decide we're going to do that before the world gets to us.
Yeah.
We don't react to the world. We make those decisions ahead of time. So, I really like that fact with us because, and like I said, it's just something looking back at it. Mm-hmm. Just something looking back that a priority became. I don't think it was at first. At first, the priority was, hey, let's get the first episode done. So what, you're going to Africa. Let's go ahead and get it done and go from there. But then it, over time, become a major priority. And I just think that's cool, especially with what we preach and teach and help people to grow.
Yeah. Let me tell you how seriously I take that, because it's a very dark thought. I apologize to our viewers that are sensitive to depressing thoughts, but I have literally considered that if we film an episode and something were to happen to me in between the filming of the episode and the publishing of an episode, mm-hmm. I have literally considered, I hope that they still put that episode out on Friday. Like, I know there will be a lot happening if something happened to me. I get that. But man, it would sure mean a lot to me if that episode still flew out at the same time.
Yeah. So your last episode would go out
when it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. Not just that it went out. Mm-hmm. It went out when it was supposed to go out. I hope that my consistency and my integrity is such that if something were to happen to me, that people are like, Andrew would want this to be a priority, that his work still went out when it was supposed to go out. Yeah. And I'll be honest, man, like the reason I've not said anything to you about it, because I've had that thought numerous times and it's been some time, is because I think it would. Like I thought about it and I wasn't like, I think I need to tell them so that they know. I was like, I think they know. I think they know.
Well, I think the guys that came and got your laptop and brought it to the hospital when your baby was being born,
forgot about
just
that.
so that you could put out the episode on time and not be a couple hours late. I think they would probably realize that and remember that too.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too, till right now.
I did edit and post a podcast.
While Courtney's having a baby.
Yeah, that is a true story. and to a lot of people, they're like, it would be justifiable to say, hey, look, man, that's a little much.
Right.
That's a little much. But, man, I just disagree. You know, I would never dishonor my wife in a time of need. And I didn't in any way. I promise you. She didn't even notice that I was doing it.
Right.
You know.
No, I agree. I disagree with you. I think it is a little much, and but I think we are a little much, you know, and I think that's a good thing.
I've been called a lot worse.
I've been a little much.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
That's the worst thing I get called this week. It's a fine week.
We're gonna be okay.
Yep. Yeah, this show could have been shut down for numerous reasons, or at least not published on time for numerous reasons. But I've even had backup plans for that. You know, when things happen, like you and I've had several conversations about me filming an episode with someone else because you're going to be gone for times and stuff like that. I was like, hey, I can do this, and you always worked out your schedule to where we could film it correctly, anyways.
Right.
And I say correctly. This is the way we intended season 1. We intended season 1, every episode to be you and I.
Yep.
That was the plan from Get. And so, you know, we may see some changes to some of those dynamics soon. But for season 1, that was so important to us. And you made sure, and I made sure in every instance, no matter what. I came up here and filmed when my kids were very sick. You know, we found a window of time where things were okay for long enough, and I was like, you know, and my wife, she's just a trooper, you know, and but I mean, we'd have figured it out anyway, and she was just like, hey, if you need an hour, this is it. Take it now, you know. And we ran up here and filmed and ran back.
And that's the things that, you know, kind of want to talk about in this episode is some adversity that we've had personally, you know, and everything over the last year, you know. But before we get to that, I do want to say that not only have we been consistent, but our viewership's been consistent. You know, we have certain people that I know that listen to Jesus Cartel on Friday afternoon when it comes out. I have certain people that I know that clean their house Saturday mornings and listen to Jesus Cartel while they're cleaning their house. You know, I have certain people that I know listen to it on Mondays and Tuesdays, you know, on their commute to work and back, you know. And so there's a lot of our viewers that are just as consistent as we are.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it. You know, I mean, we want to protect our own personal integrity. This is what we do. But we're also fueled by other people, and they're doing the same thing. And so, you know, I think that was one of the biggest shockers is how many people from all kind of different walks of life would, you know, listen to Jesus Cartel on a regular basis. Yeah. And we're still gaining new people. You know what I mean? Somebody real close to us just the other day said, man, I wish I could see y'all when y'all were talking. And they didn't realize they could on YouTube. Yeah. They listened to it on the podcast on their phone, you know. Had another guy that's close to us that, you know, is a little older, and he wanted a Jesus Cartel shirt. And I asked him if he listens to Jesus Cartel, and he goes, I don't know how to do it on my phone. You know, and so he's heard some things and this and that, and he's listened with his wife and other people, but didn't know how to do it on his phone. So I texted his wife and asked her to do it, you know, and now he's all in, you know, on Jesus Cartel. And then there's other ones that, you know, they start asking me, man, you know, I remember the first time a guy at the center asked me, he goes, so how's Annalise doing in Dallas? And I looked down and go, do what? Why are you talking about my daughter living in Dallas? And then I realized he listens to Jesus Cartel. Yeah. You know, we had been talking about her moving to Dallas. You know, I started to whoop him, and then I realized what was going on, you know.
You were going to fight him and put a restraining order on him.
And here he is forced to listen to our deal, you know. And then graduation celebration, I was eating lunch with Blake Tubinera's family and stuff, and they were asking questions, his mom and his aunt and them, about, you know, our family, to Becky and them, and she's like, how do they know so much about us? And it's like, they watch Jesus Cartel. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten used to talking to your friends who I don't know,
Right.
that know a lot about me. I never have adjusted to that. I don't know that I will adjust to it just
Right.
because I'm not actually famous, so it doesn't happen frequently enough to get used to it.
Right.
But when it does happen, it's very strange to me when people ask me something super personal and I know I've never seen them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I was listening. I was like, oh, thank God. It's at first I thought you were a stalker. We're in Super One. Did you follow me in here? I'm creating a pathway out the back of the store and
Here we go.
sheltering my children.
Right.
It gets weird. I got called paranoid after the last episode by
Yeah, I was thinking about
an envious viewer. Again, been called worse.
Amen.
But yeah, man, there's been a lot of adversity over the last year. It's been a real year.
Yeah.
It's been a real year. You and I talk a lot about, all good days is a big Jesus Cartel saying. Mm-hmm. It's our most popular shirt.
Yeah.
I think people really enjoy that mindset. I also know that some people struggle with that mindset.
Yes.
Hey, I understand. I get it. Matter of fact, I was counseling somebody the other day and had a conversation with them because they were really in a place of kind of desperation. It was a difficult situation for them. And their comment was, it's like, but and they don't listen to our show. They don't have any context for what they said to me. But they were like, but you're not allowed to have a bad day. And I was just explaining to them, I said, there's a big difference in saying you're not allowed to have a bad day while letting your circumstances consume you and actually choosing not to have a bad day. Like one of them will destroy you, because in the reality is you don't believe that. You don't believe you can't have a bad day.
Right.
You just believe that people have placed that necklace over your shoulders and said, hey, you can't have a bad day, and they're wearing the burden of that without the freedom in Christ that's there, the reason they cannot have a bad day. And so they're wearing the burden without the tool to have the good day that they're supposed to have.
Right.
And I'm not saying they're not a Christian. I'm saying there's a difference in knowing about Jesus and being able to walk in the truths of Jesus. And they're just not quite there yet. They haven't made that transition. And it was heartbreaking, man, because and I just told him, I said, hey, look, if you don't believe that, don't say it. Mm-mm. Don't say it.
No.
Like, if you're struggling, talk to someone. Yep. Tell someone. Let someone know you're having a hard time. Don't pretend like you're okay. I don't ever want anyone to pretend you're okay if you're not. The reason I say I'm good and my day is good is because it actually is. And my circumstances haven't changed that. If I ever wasn't good, I'd tell you. And so that's something I want to clarify for anybody who's listening, that the last thing I want is for anyone to pretend that they're okay if they're not.
Yeah, we don't. These extreme ideas and stuff are difficult, So all good days is a motto that we believe in, that we walk in. Not having a bad day is not. That's the extreme version of that. What Andrew's saying is it's okay to not be okay. But then we've seen people make a whole lifestyle out of it's okay to not be okay, and then they're never okay.
Yep.
Well, that's not okay. That sucks.
It's a lot of okays, but I'm following with you.
You understand what I'm saying? But so we need to make sure that we don't get off on these deals. But thinking about the last year when you talked about our the shirt and all good days and stuff, something that has surprised me is that we haven't gotten more negative feedback on the name Jesus Cartel. I thought that we would get a lot more negative feedback. We have recently got a little bit, but
not by a believer.
Yeah, I wouldn't think.
No, I checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we haven't got as much negative feedback off the name. A lot of people have seen it as cool, okay, and they seem like they really understand. And we haven't got as negative feedback by some of our views as I thought that we would. There's certain episodes where we've talked about different things, and that's kind of part of the reason why we are changing up a little bit in season 2 is to get some different perspectives, because there's some things that we've talked about with marriage and different things like that, or roles and different things like that I really felt like, we'd get canceled. We joked about that. Well, this is the episode we're going to get canceled, or, this or that, or kind of felt like, but we really haven't had a lot of that. But what I have seen is I've faced more negative criticism and persecution overall in this last year since we've been doing Jesus Cartel than I have my whole Christian life.
Yep.
But it isn't because of, the way we feel like men's roles or women's roles are, or this or that or whatever. The major criticism is from people not liking to hear about the positive.
Yeah.
As much as what we give. Mm-hmm. And so I've received more criticism about our positive nature in the last year than I ever have.
Yeah.
Now, just to be fair, that is something that I've heard over the years a little bit. Clay and Becky aren't a real couple, because they don't fight. Their kids aren't real. They plug them into the wall at night. Nobody can be that good. Those kind of different things. I've heard of that. But I'm talking about people being fighting mad.
Yeah.
And not wanting to listen to us and not wanting to be around us because we make our lives seem so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a shocker to me,
yeah.
That we've had that much criticism in that area, because our lives really are that way. But just so and y'all may have heard me say this before, but if you hadn't, just so you know, because we are talking about that right now, is this. I feel like that God gave Miss Becky to me, and I feel like he wasn't wrong. And I feel like he makes great decisions. Yep. And if I treat it any way other than God's precious, perfect gift, then I feel like I'm doing an injustice to God. So if I was to say that our marriage isn't perfect, which nobody wants to hear, or if I was to say that, our life isn't perfect, whatever, then to me, I am discounting what God has done in my life. Now look, do we hope that things continue to get better? Sure they are. Are there imperfections that happen? Yes. Are there things that happen? Sure they are. But we focus on God's perfect gift and what he has given us. And really, look, we're not going to apologize for that. It is what it is. If that's not you, and you want to start walking in more of a blessed life, then just try that. Try acknowledging the blessings that God's given you. Try acknowledging that he's God and that you're not. Try acknowledging that his ways are higher than your ways and he knows best for your life instead of you. Just try those things and see if it doesn't bring about a more positive perspective in your life. But I promise you that it will.
I agree.
Focus on the negative will never make you strong.
I agree. I think that's been one of the things that's been shocking, because one thing that we have done through the Jesus Cartel is we've put our life out there.
Yeah.
And so before,
for free.
Yeah. Before, yeah. Y'all owe us money. Yeah. Before I was, I'm a fairly private person. It's not that I'm not willing to talk, but I've got a very small circle of people that I would say I have intimate relationships with. Just one best friend, just one, Demos. And the reality of that is, when we went public with all of this, like that was one of the main, I don't want to say concerns we had, but it was just like we just recognized it right off. Like, hey, look, everybody's about to know.
Right.
How we, you know what I mean? And so, or it's going to at least be available to everybody if they want to hear.
Yeah.
And if we say anything that people don't like, this puppy's going to get sent around. And, just brace yourself for that. And the thing, to your point, that's been most surprising to me is how many Christian people are so upset that I have joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I couldn't believe it, because it's not, there has not been yet an unbeliever who listen to, because we have some that do listen.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been one yet that heard how I live and was like, oh, liar.
Yeah.
It's been Christian people. And I was like, golly, man, why does it upset you so much that I have joy? You know, happiness is an emotion, but joy is a state of being. It's something you choose to have. You know, this is something made very clear by Paul. And, man, I've got a lot of joy in my life. Did we endure some difficulties this year? Yeah. This has been one of the hardest years of my life, circumstance-wise. It's been tough. Right. It's been a tough one for numerous reasons. And, man, I had some people I really loved, still love, you know, stand really strong against me because of you know, some different things and different, you know, really what I would consider just not understanding what I was trying to communicate. And, man, that was hard. It was hard to see. It was hard to deal with. Because you love people, you don't want to have divisions in your relationships, but nonetheless there were some, and it's been a difficult year. We lost two really close friends. I'm sure we lost more than that, but for sure 2 people we were very, very close to. That was difficult, man.
That we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah. Shouldn't have lost. You know, right under our nose kind of situations. That was very, very hard. The trip I took to Pakistan was unlike any trip I'd ever taken before. You know, I've went to, you know, 10 plus nations at this point. I have never considered really that there was a chance I don't come back from any trip. This one I had to think about it. Because there was some serious persecution happening in Pakistan right before we left. It was all over the news, and it was exactly where we were going, and so, you know, that was the first time I've ever had to really like get a grip on that and have a different conversation with my children before I left, which I didn't tell them I might not come back, but they could just tell something was different, and you know, just loved on them and you know, affirmed them, and that was a different kind of situation. You know, I no longer work at River of Life Church. I've been at River of Life Church since 2016, I think, and been here for a long time. Got a lot of incredible relationships, some really great people, and you know, just through some different circumstances and things that were happening, the Lord set a prophetic word in my mind. It's not like a you know, Twilight Zone thing. A genuine prophetic word, which I revealed to several people months before it came to fulfillment. And when it came to fulfillment, it just became very clear that it was time for me to make a move in life. For whatever reason, the Lord had a different purpose and a different movement, and I never saw myself leaving from here. You know, I had kind of set up camp in my mind that I was going to be here until Kingdom Come, and I was very happy with that notion. And you know, but the Lord's about His kingdom, not my kingdom, not what I think would be best for me, but what's best for the overall. And so, you know, it was very difficult at first. There was a lot of confusion all around, for myself included, for the record, because I didn't exactly understand it all. I just knew that that's what had to happen. And we have seen since that time, because it's been a few months now, we have seen since that time the massive expansion of the kingdom that has happened because of it, not because of me. Just the Lord went ahead of me where He was sending me, and I showed up at just the right time to be a part of what He was already doing. And that's such a cool thing. And nothing has slowed up here in terms of what was already happening. All those things are still happening. And you know, that's it's just been it's been a weird year. It's been difficult in a lot of ways. There was a lot of misunderstanding and things when you're somewhere for a long time, and then you're not, and you hadn't been like trash talking a place, It's not like there was any sort of like, oh man, I hate this. There's this. And there was nothing like that. So it just seemed so abrupt to so many people. It wasn't abrupt to me because I had already received a word about it. And then that word had just kind of unraveled itself. And so it was tough, man, because people are so emotionally invested. We love each other. It was, it was just it was a tough moment, and so just enduring through all this, enduring through the places of difficulty, and coming back to a place of oneness, which is what we've seen happen in a lot of cases, and is continuing to happen in other cases. At first, with the difficulty of it all, there was kind of a separation, but you're seeing everybody just really mesh back together and knowing that it's about the big kingdom,
right?
And it's been good, man. And I've seen a lot of people grow. I've seen a lot of people step into some really awesome roles and take on some new things and some new challenges. And so, but it has been a year for the books. Enjoy throughout it all.
Right.
Enjoy throughout it all.
Something, in your life, we kind of talked about a little bit, but having a fourth child, having your first son.
Yeah.
And then, and getting used to that.
Right smack dab in the middle of all the controversy.
Right. And just thinking about that time, and there was a time period there, for a lot of us that, we lost one of our main leaders and best friends, at the same time. I lost a police jury election, and I've been on the police jury for 4 years, and then went through a long election cycle, and having to go that extra part of that deal and everything, and then to not win it, and then there was different adversity going on all at the same time in jobs and ministry and different things like that, and just to see that every single week we've been here helping people get further in Christ. Every single week we've been helping people reach their full potential in Christ and to continue to get better and better. And to me, that is so cool, because where we're sitting at now on the backside of all that is really in a cool place. But guess what? We've been in a good place the whole entire time.
That's right.
Even though there was adversity, even though there was difficulties, even though there's different things going on around, we've been, walking this thing out each and every day, and you alluded to something about, the All Good Day shirt. Another thing that's come out, we now have merchandise.
That's right.
I
forgot it. Yeah,
we got people walking around, not just us, but other people walking around with All Good Days. We got people walking around with Jesus Cartel shirts, and people are asking, and they're asking questions about it. And so, even though there's a lot that's happening this year, at the same time that all that other stuff was going on in the fall, and it was difficult, my oldest daughter moves to Dallas. She's now been there for 6 months. That was, a challenge for us to navigate between, me thinking that just wanting to see her expand her wings, and her mom being a little, not thinking that way, and having to navigate all that and stuff. And then my youngest daughter's graduated college in February and trying to, just now starting her first big girl job, and Cooper's getting ready to be a junior, and the junior year at school is your best year. That's the year where you rule the campus and everything, because you're actually there.
Yeah.
And then with the expansion of adding more houses and rent houses, and then different things at the church and responsibilities, and then fresh start, something that we've been working on for many, many years, for the last year now, we've been hammering it hard, and now starting today, we're getting to see the fruits of that labor, and something that you and I've worked really hard on for the last year and been setting foundation for years before. And so, I guess the message to everybody is just keep walking it out each and every day. I don't want you to think that I'm saying keep enduring the struggle and you're going to get to the other side. No, count it all as joy.
Yeah.
Each and every day. We've been doing this show each and every day. There was times when we did this show where we didn't want to do this show. And we still did it anyhow. One time I remember we just said, let's just go over there and decide if we're even going to do the show. You know, and it was the one time that we made a decision that if we needed to cut it, we'd cut it. And we didn't. And it was one of the better shows that we had done. You know, it just be that consistent person. If God showed you something, by God, do it. Commit to it. Don't be scared to draw a line in the sand. Don't be scared to commit. Don't be scared to let people rely on you. Don't be scared to let people trust in you and see you as a person of integrity. You know, so many people are like, well, I better knock on wood. Man, you ain't got to knock on nothing. You make those decisions and be that person, and it will not only strengthen you, but it will strengthen everybody around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it really will.
And so that, hopefully, if that doesn't, I don't know what will, but hopefully that puts to bed the myth that Clay and I have perfect life. We do not have perfect lives. Right. It's not about having a perfect life. It's about approaching an imperfect life perfectly.
Amen.
And so the way that you approach the circumstance you're given will determine the outcome. And so is all of the circumstances in our life constantly good? No. It's been a really hard year in terms of, if I just take a step back and look at circumstances, it's been a very hard year. One of the hardest I've had, without question. As a matter of fact, I still don't have resolutions to some of the things I've endured.
Right.
Like, I'm not on the other side of some of this. But that's not what it's about.
Right.
It's not about the circumstance. It's not about the resolution. It's about the attitude that you take into the circumstance. And that's why Paul can say, count it all as joy.
Amen.
And, you know, am I saying I'm enduring the same difficulties as Paul? Sure, no. I'm,
right.
You know, but I think we get too much into battles of apples to oranges about circumstance and situations. The reality is everybody's burden is their burden.
Yep. Everybody's
burden is that prison or whatever it is that they're going through. But if you'll take joy into the situation with you, because that's a choice. It's not a feeling. It's a choice. If you take joy into the situation with you, you're taking a perfect mindset into an imperfect situation. And you're going to be able to walk through that situation with the peace of God. Without taking that mindset into the situation, you will have no peace. Yep. And so that's what it's all about, man. Why have I had a good day every day this year? Because I took joy into all of these circumstances. Amen. You know, were some of these circumstances hard? Sure. Were there times that I was surprised at some of the things that I had heard were being said about me? Yeah, there were some times I was taken back. But at the end of the day, man, other people were involved. I can't control them.
Right.
That's not something I can control. I can only control me and make sure I'm doing the next right thing for the correct reasons. You know, it can't be about me. It can't be about selfishness. It can't be about my wants. It's got to be about God's kingdom. It's got to be about what's right. And so long as I kept my eye on that, which I did through the whole situation, I never felt wrong about it. I never felt guilty for it. Now, had I had some impure motive in this, and this was about what I could get or what I had to gain, it would have been a totally different situation. And I believe that the Spirit would have convicted me on that. But I didn't have anything to gain. It was all about what I saw in the kingdom, and ultimately what it ended up being, realizing after the fact, you know, because hindsight's such a beautiful gift, is now I can see what God was working up the entire time, which was not what I had pictured. It's not even close to what I had pictured. But man, is it good. Man, is it good. And it is
Well, you
done.
talked about counting it all as joy, and that's something that I do want to mention here, and just a life lesson and everything is how you initially handle a difficult situation or an unexpected situation oftentimes determines the outcome.
Sure.
And so that's the reason why we like to see the positive in everything that we can, because if we focus on the negative, then the outcome is going to be negative. You know, even though during those difficult situations that we were going through and stuff, you were looking at the positive side of things the whole time, and because of that, the end result was positive. Now, it was totally different than what we thought it was going to be, but it was still positive, right? Yeah. You know, we got a buddy that listens to Jesus Cartel that this week or last week, something, very negative happened, something unforeseen happened, something happened that was difficult in his life. And his initial response to it and initial step that he took was wrong. And he's looking back at it now saying, I was wrong. I did wrong.
Yeah.
And we got to be really careful with how we initially handle something, because the way you initially handle it oftentimes determines the outcome. And I'm not trying to put so much on you, but at the same time, I kind of am. Decisions you make today affect the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that God's not going to come in and intervene and do what he does and everything. I'm just saying that we need to be really slow to react to things and make sure that we do it right. A good friend of ours said the other day, another friend said, well, it just had to be said.
No, it didn't.
It didn't just have to be said, and that's not the first time I've heard them say that.
Yeah.
And people view that person a little differently than somebody who doesn't think that it just had to be said, right? Because once you say it, there's no take backs, and that's kind of the same thing on this show. Is you talk about before we started. Basically, once you say it, it's out there. Well, guess what? I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'll let Andrew answer this for his own self, but I don't know of anything that I've said on this show that I don't agree with 100%.
Sure.
And I don't think I've said anything on this show that I wish I wouldn't have said.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're very honest on this show.
Sure.
We're very open on the show. We're not trying to appease everybody. We're trying to help everybody. And I believe that honesty is the best policy. I believe that doing those things is the best. So I don't think there's anything in the last year that I've said on Jesus Cartel that I would take back if I could. And I don't think there's anything that I said that I didn't agree with 100% when I said it. Now, let me just say this. Along with that, let me qualify this. There are things that I know were 100% from God that he told me to say that I might not agree with 100% because it's never come out of my mouth before and he told me. But once I said it, I agree with it 100% because God told me to.
Sure.
And I don't know. What about you on that? Are there some regrets or something? Last year?
No, not at all. The deal is I, just as a personal rule, I'm very careful when I speak to people in general, because what you said, you can't take it back. Even if you misspeak, whatever you said, the person that heard it is going to have a hard time unhearing it. And you could have totally not meant it. You accidentally call somebody fat. You can't say, that's not what I meant. Too late. Right. So as just a personal rule, when it comes to communication dialogue, I'm very, very careful before I say anything. It is very well thought through, and I spend a lot of time making double, triple sure that I mean whatever it is that I'm going to say. No, there is nothing that we have said, that I have said, that I wish I wouldn't have said or wish I would have worded it a different way. I said it exactly the way that I meant to say it, and I still mean it. Now, I want to make our viewers aware of something that we've never talked about.
Okay.
There have been episodes where you and I were dealing with some of these controversies over the last year, be it the deaths or the just the different circumstances. There have been episodes where we were set to talk about a certain topic or subject, and when we got here, we said, "Hey, we're not going to be able to shoot this episode on this. We're not going to be able to." Not because we were afraid of what we might say, but we were trying to be careful with how someone might hear it, because people are aware of everything that's going on. It's like, hey, look, this was the viewer question. I don't think we can talk about it right now because people are going to think we're talking about that. So we're not going to do that this week. And really, I've actually still got those viewer questions down here. We still haven't actually discussed that specific thing. I think it's been enough time separated now we could, but we couldn't for a while. And so I say that to say, is as forward as you and I are about what we believe is true, we are also taking into account how people may receive and feel about some of the things we're talking about. So we're never intentionally offensive. That's not our goal isn't to get on here and see whose feelings we can hurt and see who we can call out.
I'm not trying to be Stephen A. Smith or somebody like that.
That's not what we're doing here,
Right.
man. We've been very sensitive to how people around us might take some of the things that we're saying. But we're not going to withhold truth by any stretch of the imagination. But we have altered the order by which we talk about certain truths so that people didn't take it personally.
Yeah. And then there's been other times where we're like, we got to talk about this today.
Sure.
This is a hot topic. This is something coming up. This is something going on in our community. We got to talk about this right now. So I think we've seen both things, and I think that's a lot of wisdom on your part, kind of, planning the show and looking at things and all that, because I really don't have a clue what we're going to do.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how difficult the year has been, but I also want to take time to talk about some of the really good things that have happened.
Yeah.
One, man, we've seen a lot of slaves freed in Pakistan this year.
Amen.
We have seen a lot of slaves freed in Pakistan. Some of you guys that are listening are part of the reason that has happened. I just want to tell you I love you and appreciate you so much. And you have no idea how much it means to them. Still hear from them. They're still doing well. It's a beautiful thing. I've had a tremendous amount of personal, marital, and family growth. I've seen growth in myself, my wife, my marriage, and all of my children. That has been a phenomenal thing. We have shifted into another role at a different church, seeing God go before us and in a situation that seemed unplanned to me, seeing that it was planned in his mind. Man, such a cool experience to get to be a part of. I've made a lot of shifts in my personal health and fitness, just changed some goals around, moved some things around. That's been a really neat thing. And it was within this year that I did that 30-mile Spartan race too.
Yeah,
I just remembered that just now.
Yeah.
And so
Big deal.
Yeah,
Really
so we've seen some pretty drastic shifts in some things, and it was just not the most previous January, but the January before that, where I had challenged myself to get up to 215 pounds and then to shift all the way back down into running that race. And now, to make another steep drop now, it's just continuing to challenge myself and taking care of myself has been a big deal. And the thing that's been really cool to me in all of this is, man, I'm coaching baseball again. Mm-hmm. And that won't mean a lot to a lot of people, but I can tell you this. When my family split up when I was in school, I was supposed to go. I was set to go play college baseball. A lot of people don't know that. I don't talk about it a lot. Only people that really know are baseball people that are around me, and we've had conversations. Most of them notice me throwing around and stuff and started asking questions. But for the most part, I don't talk about it because I hate people that are like, well, I could have done this, but I hurt my knee. I never have liked that. But I was set to go play college baseball. Ended up not playing because when my family separated, baseball became a scathing reminder to me that my family was broken. And so I kind of just left it behind. And that was a very difficult thing for me because I had such a tremendous love for it. And through all of these different transitions, I can hear my kids in the background. Through all of these drastic transitions, God has really restored my love for baseball back into me, where it doesn't have any sort of connection to, I guess the what in my opinion was the most difficult circumstance of my life was losing my family when I was young. And man, it's just been a really cool thing to be able to love it again.
There we go.
Hey, Goosey. What you doing? Yeah. Found a baby.
There you go. I think you got some more coming.
I do. Hey, squirrelies. Yep. But yeah, man, there's been a lot of good. There's been some difficult, sure. It's been a lot of good.
Amen.
And so I don't want everyone to think that, oh man, Andrew just had such a rough year. It's been a tough year in a lot of ways, but man, it's been a good year in a lot of other ways.
Amen.
And so I'm thrilled about what's going on.
Yeah, man, we've had a lot of. We like to discuss both, because we want to be real, and we've had a lot of really good things that have happened this year also, and looking forward to seeing some more things. And so just really excited about the next year and everything that's going on. So, hey, look, Andrew's family showed up, so we're going to cut this episode.
Yeah.
And
it's exactly time, too.
Hey, there you go. It works out every single time, right?
It couldn't be better.
Hey, look, we love y'all. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next time.